Great. Okay, everybody, we're good to go. Sorry for the slight delay there. I'm going to take the blame for that. That's all on me. So it is approximately 6:06. It is Thursday, November 13th, 2025, and we'll call this meeting of the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committees to order. And before we start, I'm going to pass it over to Carrie for a moment because I think she has a couple of things she might want to say.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce our newest member, Dave Moore, who's sitting over here. So Dave joins us as the Windsor representative on the committee and comes to us with a background in environmental and regional planning and construction management. So I'll let Dave introduce himself a little bit more when we do a roundtable just once we start the nominations. But we're thrilled to have you on the committee and look forward to your contributions. And so please join me in welcoming Dave to the committee.
Welcome, welcome. It's a great committee, and I think you'll really enjoy everything that the group has to offer. So having said that, I've been on the committee now for a couple of years, and I've been chair for a couple of years, and I know this is kind of the anniversary of the last time that this committee was sort of reformed. So I reached out to staff, and I mentioned that maybe it was time to think about a new chair. I mentioned before we even got here how much I've totally enjoyed this experience, and most importantly, I think I've learned a lot, and I think that's the purpose of engagement with people from our communities is we hope that we get invited here. I don't know what that is.
It's not me.
We got it?
Nope. Not mine. It's not this one.
There's no.
We got it. Hey, we're back. Yeah. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to sort of work our way around the table, and we're going to allow everyone to just give a quick introduction, maybe introduce yourself, your name, and then following that, we'll go through the process to seek nominations for a new chair and a new vice chair as well. So yeah, I guess we'll start. We'll go this way. Actually, we'll have everyone introduce yourselves because we have a new member. Yeah, so maybe we'll start here to my left.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Fougier. I'm the Acting Director of Planning and Development with WHRM.
Hello, my name is Alex Dunphy. I'm Senior Planner here with West Hants. Yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Lake. I'm planning assistant. I take minutes and such for the meeting and provide technical support, even though I'm not very good at that, apparently. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Guido Forlani. What am I? I am an actor. I am a professional certified coach and work in trauma and stuff like that. I am a humanist. I am here because I care about how we humans experience architecture and other things. And I live in Windsor.
I'm Jane Davis. I'm one of the two reps from Hantsport, and both Tim and I have been on the committee for a couple of terms, and I think we're enjoying ourselves here and like to be able to have input and in the planning process and about things that affect all of us. Thank you.
Good evening. Jim Ivey is my name, and I'm from Windsor, and I'm the councillor representing Windsor South, one of two. We have the other councillor from Windsor here as a guest this evening.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Moore. Missed my first meeting, so I hope to observe and contribute at the same time. And I've been I'm I'm a representative of Windsor, and I've been spent about 20 some years living in Windsor, but also traveling back and forth to Halifax and living in Halifax. So it's but I am a 100% pedestrian. Haven't driven. Have a vehicle and a license, but I haven't driven in 4 years. So I've been walking everywhere. So I have a pretty good pedestrian perspective on some of these projects. Thank you.
So I'm Kayla Leary Pinch, and I live in Vaughan, and I'm the counselor for District 7.
And my name is Michelle Bourgeois. I'm a resident member from lovely and scenic Courage Corner, and I enjoy contributing to my community, and this is a great way to do it.
My name is Will Hong, and I'm the planner with the municipality. I've been with West Hants for over a year and a half now.
Tonight we're missing two other people who are normally here. So Mark Keogh, I've known Mark my whole life. He's celebrating his anniversary with his wife on a beach, which is where I think everybody needs to be at some point. And also Mayor Abe Zabian serves on this committee as well. And he has an appointment this evening that he couldn't miss. My name is Tim Carr. I'm a small business owner and I live in Hantsport. And Jane said exactly what I was thinking. We just like the opportunity to sort of have some input or to be of assistance to policy making in our region, not just where we live, but in all of our communities. So having said all that, we've kind of met each other. We're going to go through with the process of nominations, and it's a really sort of basic process. And I'm just going to briefly explain it to people to my knowledge. So what I'm going to do is 3 times I'm going to ask for nominations for chair, and that's just process. We're a small group. Every time I ask, we don't all have to scramble to nominate people necessarily, but it is process that I ask 3 times and then wait for that, the response, if there is one, or if there's no response, if we've already sort of nominated people and all of that. So don't worry that I keep asking because I'm supposed to. And then we'll do the same when we've elected a chair. I think perhaps we'll have the chair sort of take this position and we'll choose a vice chair at that point, if that's okay with everyone. I believe that that's the process. I've seen it done a few times. I should remember, but it's been a while since we've done it. So that's how we're going to try and pull it off this time. So what I will do is for the first time, I will seek nominations for a position of chair. Would anyone like to make any nominations?
I nominate Michelle Bourgeois.
Thank you, Jane. So Michelle, is this something you're interested in?
I'd like to see if there's any other nominations, but I certainly wouldn't refuse. But I'd like to, if somebody else is interested in the opportunity, I would certainly withdraw for those people.
Okay. Guido.
I nominate Michelle as well.
Yeah. And I actually would third that if I had the opportunity. So I will take a second opportunity to seek nominations for chair at this point. Okay, I see no lights on. I'm going to ask just a third and final time. No stress or no pressure or anything. I'll third time seek nominations for chair for the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committees. Okay, I see no more lights. So Michelle, I guess we're going to turn our focus toward you. It's certainly something that the group, I think, we certainly like to have you as our chair.
Certainly, it's you leave awfully big shoes to fill. That's that. If you had been doing a terrible job, I'd be jumping right up there. But goodness, you've done such a great job. So I certainly would. I'd accept that with the caveat that it's going to take me a while to get to, if ever, as proficient as Tim quickly became. So no, you have a special knack for this work. So I can accept that. If you guys can accept it, I'll probably muddle through the first little bit.
That's excellent. So I think we don't even need to vote. I think that's an established thing. So congratulations. We have a new chair of our committee. So I'm going to get out of this seat and bring you up here with all of your stuff.
All right, so the next thing we need to do is open nominations for the vice chair of the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Jim Ivy.
Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to second that, if possible.
And third and final time, is there any other nominations?
I third it.
So it seems the consensus is that Jim Ivy is the preferred candidate for the position. What say you?
So I'm happy to do it unless there was somebody else, same as
Yeah.
said, that would like to take it on. I've had a few runs at the chair job here, and so I think one of the best way for us all learning is to be otherwise in the chair. So if anybody else wanted to declare, then I would gladly.
With that in mind, is anyone wanting to throw their hat in, or? No, then if you're willing, Jim, you would be the vice chair. Very good. So moving on to business. The next thing I would have is the announcements. So obviously, welcome to the Planning Chair Advisory Committee. It is November 13th of 2025. West Hants Regional Municipality acknowledges that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and that this land is governed by the treaties of peace and friendship signed in 1726. West Hants Regional Municipality recognizes we are all treaty people and have responsibilities to this land and each other. West Hants Regional Municipality also recognizes African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. We acknowledge the historic and ongoing racism against these communities and are committed to mending our relationship by listening, learning, and recognizing our wrongs. Council and I, as chair, are committed to ensuring this meeting and its participants conduct themselves in a respectful and professional manner as outlined in the municipality's code of conduct. Meeting presenters, staff, and the public are expected to always conduct themselves in an equally respectful manner while the meeting is being conducted. I thank you in advance for your commitment to these important meeting principles. Members are reminded to use the microphones when they wish to speak, and we are on YouTube, and the meeting is being recorded, so we request that any audience members not use their personal recording devices. If we need to leave the building, the exits are there and on that side of the room, and the muster station is out in the parking lot, and I'll be the last one to leave the building, make sure everyone is out. Okay. So now we would look for approval of the agenda and any additions to the agenda.
I'll move approval.
And I'll second it.
Okay, so approved. No additions to the agenda? There being none, are there any declarations of conflicts of interest? And there being none, and the approval of the minutes as presented from October 9th, 2025. No omissions, deletions, errors noted there. Well, so we'll accept those as presented. And any new business? Okay. So the first order of new business is file 2522, rezoning of 5988 Highway 215, Kemp Shore, and Planner Hong has a presentation on that.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the application before this committee tonight is about a rezoning application located in the Kemp Shore area. So just a little bit background of this application. Our planning department received a complete application from Renee Redden on August 18 this year. And the application was to rezone the property from rural commercial to general resource. And the intention for this rezoning is to build a single unit dwelling on the lot, as the current zoning, rural commercial, only allows residential use in conjunction with a commercial use. However, the owner has no intention of operating a commercial business. So therefore, we received this rezoning application. And here shows the orthophoto of the subject lot. It has road frontage on Highway 215. It is approximately half acre in size, and the site was formerly used by a credit union that is no longer in operation, and the formal structure was demolished in 2023. Surrounding properties include single unit dwellings and farms. And this slide shows the generalized future land use map of the West Hands municipal planning strategy, which indicates that the property designation and the surrounding designation are resource. And this map shows the current zoning of the West Hands land use bylaw, which again indicates it is currently zoned rural commercial, which allows a variety of low intensity commercial uses. And this map shows the proposed zoning, general resource zone, which permits a range of uses, include but not limited to agriculture uses, restaurants, and single and 2 unit dwellings. And move into the policy part. This is what enables this application to occur. The West Hands Municipal Planning Strategy is the overarching planning document we look at tonight. And specifically, policy 16.1.3 allows council to zone any area adjacent to a given land use designation to a zone permitted in that designation. So in this application, it allows the subject lot to rezone to general resource, which is a permitted zone, applies to our resource designation. And also both the subject lot and the adjacent properties are designated as resource already. So in summary, this policy has been considered met. And the final policy we look at is 16.3.1, which is the general criteria in considering a land use bylaw amendment application. And in summary, this policy has also been considered met since the proposal is not considered premature or inappropriate for the area, and no municipal costs related to the proposal are anticipated. And also the fire chief, development officer, manager of building and fire inspection services, area manager of the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works and Public Works Engineering Division have no concerns which have not been addressed in my staff report. And this slide outlines our public engagement. So we first held a public information meeting on October 8th, and the meeting was also broadcast live on our YouTube page. And there were about 1 member of the public attended the meeting, and staff didn't receive any comments from the public during the public comment period followed the meeting. So the planning process for tonight, where we are at the PAC for your review and recommendation. So we'll then go to council for first reading, likely later this month, and council will then schedule a public hearing and second reading after on a later date. And if the council approved the application, the notice of approval will be placed in the paper, and that would outline the 14-day appeal period to the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board. So with that concludes my presentation. I have the recommendation on the screen, and I'd happy to take any questions from this committee. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Planner Hong on that?
I'm just prepared to make
There
a
being
recommendation.
none, is prepared to make the motion?
That PAC HAC recommends that council give first reading and hold a public hearing to consider amending Schedule A of the West Hants Land Use Bylaw to rezone PID 451-79462 at 5988 Highway 215 in Kemp Shore from rural commercial to general resource zone as shown in the report number 25-22 to the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee dated November 13th, 2025.
I will second that.
Seconded by Tim. All right. So now we would vote on that motion. All in favor of that motion? Any opposed? There being none, motion is carried. The next order of business is file 2507-11/12, development agreement and rezoning of PIDs 450-55241 and 451-90386 and 45366-457 Wentworth Road, Windsor. And Will Hong and Senior Planner Dunphy have a presentation for us.
Thank you, Chair. So I will go first with our amendments application. So this application involves two parts. One part is I'm handling the rezoning and the redesignation, and whereas Alex will later present his development agreement application, so we will happen concurrently. And so just a bit background. We received a complete application from Brighter Community Planning on behalf of JD Irving Limited on January 27 this year. And so my part of my application includes the rezoning, whereas as I mentioned, Alex involves with a development agreement. And the nature of my rezoning file is not contingent on the development agreement application. However, the intent of my application will establish the foundation for applicants' future residential proposal on the subject lot. So there are a lot of requests. So to put into perspective, I've made this table for this committee review. So there are two parcels. The first one is PID number 45439098, and this is a approximately 23.7 acre land. And the request is to amend the Windsor Generalized Future Land Use Map to redesignate from a split designations of commercial and residential to entirely commercial. And second part is rezoning. The intention is to rezone from a split zones of Wentworth Road commercial and agriculture to entirely Wentworth Road commercial zone. And as for the second parcel number PID 45190386, it is approximately 15 acres of land. And the first request is to rezone the lot from agriculture to medium density residential R2, and then to exclude the property from the current Wentworth Road Gateway District. And before moving on, I just want to note that this application is quite unique in a way that one of the parcel across two planning areas. So you will notice that there's a dashed line on the map, which represent the planning boundary between the Windsor and the West Hants planning areas. So the area to the left of the dashed line falls within the Windsor, and while the area to the right is part of the West Hants planning area. And tonight's application is entirely within the Windsor planning area, which is governed by the Windsor Municipal Planning Strategy and the Windsor Land Use Bylaw, as outlined in this red rectangle on the map here. So this image shows the current generalized future land use map, which indicates that the front portion of the subject properties along the Wentworth Road are designated commercial, and you can find that the rear portion is currently designated residential, and the surrounding properties are designated residential, joint industrial, commercial, and community use. And this map shows the current zoning map of the Windsor land use map, land use bylaw, which indicates that the front portion of the subject lot along the Wentworth Road are currently zoned Wentworth Road commercial, and also split zoned of agriculture. And the second parcel is currently zoned agriculture entirely. And the subject lot are also within the Wentworth Road Gateway District overlay, which is indicated by the hatch area on the map here. I will go into more details about the background of this district overlay in my next slide, but essentially you can see that most of the properties along the Wentworth Road are currently within the Wentworth Road Gateway District. So just a bit background on the district. According to Windsor Municipal Planning Strategy, the Wentworth Road Gateway District was created to recognize Wentworth Road as the gateway to Windsor, and it mainly applies to parcel having frontage on the Wentworth Road. And the intention of this overlay is to identify Wentworth Road as an important entrance route into Windsor for both pedestrians, cyclists, as well for vehicles, and promote a sense of welcome and arrival, and also assist in visitor orientation and direction into downtown Windsor. And in terms of the proposed generalized future land use map, now the property fronting onto the Wentworth Road is proposed to entirely designated as commercial instead of half commercial and half residential. And I will note that there's no change to the second parcel in the back, and it will remain as residential designation. And this map shows the proposed zoning map where the property with frontage on Wentworth Road is proposed to rezone to Wentworth Road commercial entirely. And the second property in the back is proposed to rezone from agriculture to medium density residential R2. And so the final request is to amend the Wentworth Road Gateway District boundary to align with the proposed commercial development area, which Alex will be talking more into details for his DA application. So as this slide shows, the intention is to remove the PID 451903A6 from the Wentworth Road Gateway District. And looking at the policy here, the Windsor Municipal Planning Strategy is the overarching document we are looking tonight. Specifically for the rezoning on the agriculture zone, policy 6.010 enables council to permit land zoned agriculture to be considered for other uses subject to general criteria and have regard to the potential impact on adjacent active farms. And this policy has been considered met because there is currently no active farming operation in the surrounding areas, and plus the existing commercial and residential designation on the subject lot indicates council's intention to consider this subject lot for alternative uses in the future. And as for redesignation, policy 8.6.7 outlines council's intention to consider that lands within the Wentworth Road Gateway District shall be designated a commercial on the generalized future use map. But currently the subject lot, as I mentioned, is split designated between commercial and residential. So the amendment tonight will, which will redesignate the property entirely to commercial, will actually bring this property in alignment with council's policy. And another policy we look at is 8.6.10, which enables council to establish a Wentworth Road commercial zone and shall be the main commercial zone within the district. Rezoning to other zone will not be considered within the Wentworth Road Gateway District. And this again shows the intention from council to only zone with Wentworth Road commercial zone within the Gateway District. So which supports the amendments to allow rezoning from a split zone of Wentworth Road commercial and agriculture to entirely Wentworth Road commercial zone within the Wentworth Road Gateway District. And the final policy here we look at is 16.3.1, which is the general criteria in considering a land use bylaw amendment application. And in summary, this policy has been considered met since the proposal is not considered premature or inappropriate for the area, and no municipal costs related to the proposal are anticipated. And the fire chief, development officer, manager of building and fire inspection services, the traffic authority, and the public works engineering division have no concern which have not been addressed in my staff report tonight. And in terms of the public engagement, staff first held a public information meeting back in March this year, and there were 2 members of the public attended that night, and staff didn't receive any comments from the public during the public comment period following the meeting. So the application will follow the process on the slide here, where we are at PAC tonight for your review and recommendation. We'll then go to council for first reading, likely later this month. Council will then schedule a public hearing and hold second reading, which will be the final decision on this matter. If the application was approved by council, the application will be sent to the province for approval. Since it involves an amendment to our municipal planning strategy for the mapping. And if the application was approved by the province, and the notice of approval will be placed in the paper following that. And as a final note, that the recommendation motion on the slide is slightly different from what's shown in my report. This is because a recent change on the properties after the developer consolidated the lots, and therefore there's a change to the PID number. So if we could refer the motion on my slide instead of those in the report, that will be great. And that concludes my rezoning application, and I can take any question from this committee. Thank you.
If I could, Chair, just hop in at the end here. How this sort of multi-part application will work operationally from our side as staff. Will's done his presentation. We'll go through any discussion around that portion. So the rezoning and the redesignation of those properties. And then once that conversation has concluded, we'll move sort of directly into the DA portion. So I'll take over that part of the application once we get there.
Would we then have a vote on the one vote for the entire, or would we vote on these recommendations separately from?
Chair, I think the best way to do it would maybe be to vote on. Actually, that's a good idea. Why don't we have any discussion around this and then save both sets of recommendations till the end, just so that everyone can fully understand the project?
If I may, Chair, just to add on to that, I think Alex's presentation will provide a little bit more context about what is planned for the site after the rezoning happens. So it might be helpful for the committee to see that before weighing in on this application.
Okay, so unless there's any compelling questions specifically related to what Planner Hung just said, we could move right into Alex's and Councillor Ivey.
Just one question, if I could. On this one, typically when we're talking about agricultural land, we look at that in the context of whether it's being converted into other zone properties for residential, commercial use or whatever. And the question historically comes up relating to agrologist report and the likes. The one thing I guess that's unique in this is that the generalized future land use map had it pre-designated as future residential purpose. Can you just explain, or can Will or one of the planners please explain to us how that fits into this piece that we have in front of us?
Yeah, certainly. Excuse me. So right now the property is zoned agriculture, and however, in our long-term planning document, which is our municipal planning strategy, which outlines council's long-term vision of the property's development in the future, and this area is actually designated as residential. So this means that either previous council has expressed its intention for this land to eventually transition into residential uses in the future.
And if I could, Chair, just add on to the end of that. One thing that's a little bit different about the Windsor agricultural zone as opposed to the agricultural zones that you would find outside of our growth centers is that there is no mechanism in the Windsor document for an agrologist report. So as Will has shown in his presentation, I can't reference the exact policy, but one of the policies essentially speaks to does the proposed rezoning affect any farmland that's currently in use, I believe, or wording similar to the effect.
If I can just add it on that. So yes, I think Alex is right. So policy 60.0.10, one consideration in considering this policy is to look at the potential impact of the new development on the adjacent active farms. But as through staff research and review, there's actually no active farming operation in adjacent to the subject property. So that is the reason why we consider this policy has been met.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, there's a lot been land work being done in this area, and I believe I haven't been up to observe it, but I believe that a lot of the agricultural soil has been removed in the pre-development of the parcel. So I may be mistaken. Again, I depend on Google Earth and those types of things to see these things. But I think has the land been topsoil been removed from this particular agricultural parcel?
Through chair to the committee member, I probably don't have this information off the top of my head. And yeah, unfortunately.
Chair, just to answer the committee member's question, I believe there has been some preliminary earthworks happening on the site as far as we're aware.
Yeah, I was just saying if the topsoil has been removed, agricultural use is probably eliminated unless it was greenhouses and things like that. So. Yeah.
Okay, there being nothing before on this portion, Senior Planner Dunphy, you can continue.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Chair. I'll just start with a few notes that Will has already touched on one, but I think are important in considering this. As Will has already stated, there was a subdivision on the property which caused the PIDs in our reports to no longer indicate to the proper properties. So Will has updated in his presentation some of those PID references, and I have done the same. So just for this application, we'll refer to the PIDs within the presentation as opposed to the report itself. For the second thing, in the report in the next steps section, it includes an outdated reference to a special council meeting. That paragraph no longer applies as this is following the regular process at this point. So with that out of the way, I will jump right into the development agreement portion. So some of this will be very similar. Will has already talked about the application itself. The only thing I wanted to add here is that the development agreement component is in the same way that the rezoning is not contingent on the DA. The DA is also not contingent on the rezoning. So both can be processed separately, which is why we're considering running them at the same time. And this is just to organize the application portion. So the first two that I have grayed out here are the ones dealt with through Will's presentation, and this last one to consider the proposed commercial buildings by development agreement as per policy 8.5.1 of the Windsor Municipal Planning Strategy is what I will be looking at in this presentation. So here you can see the proposed site plan. So the development land boundary is indicated in the dotted line pattern. So it's a little bit different than the property that we had looked at in Will's presentation. Specifically, it includes an additional property, which I hope you can see here. It has some stormwater management ponds on it. So this application will include a municipal property which borders Cole Drive here. So the proposed site plan shows the large format retail building at the south end of the development site. So right here. And it shows also some smaller retail stores on the lot. And that would be sort of the three indicated here, here, and here. The site plan also shows some stormwater management ponds. So I already indicated here around Cole Drive, as well as one at the bottom of the site plan here. And as I had said, it includes a parcel which is currently owned by the municipality and has frontage on Cole Drive. I will get into some of the easements and land conveyances that are part of this application later in my presentation. So we've already had a look at the generalized future land use map for the designations of this property. And we've already looked at the zoning. So these two topics were covered by Will previously, as was the Wentworth Road Gateway District. So there are quite a few policies referenced here. The first of which being 8.5.1, and this is really the primary enabling policy. This provides council with the ability to consider the permitting of large format retail stores and expansions to existing large format retail stores by development agreement. In summary, the policy is applicable since the proposed development is for a large format retail store. In this case, it's just establishing that a development agreement can be applied for. Separately, policy 8.5.2 provides the criteria to consider development agreement applications enabled by policy 8.5.1. So to summarize here, the proposal meets the criteria as the proposal included an acceptable traffic impact study and meets all parking, access, and pedestrian safety requirements. The proposed development agreement meets all architectural, setback, landscaping, and buffering requirements. The proposed development agreement will not conflict with neighboring uses, and the development officer and municipal traffic authority have no concerns which have not otherwise been addressed in the report. For our next policy, 8.6.16, this provides additional criteria to consider when reviewing proposals for development agreement applications in the Wentworth Road Gateway District. To summarize here, the proposal meets the criteria as the proposed development agreement will not conflict with neighboring uses. The proposed development agreement meets all architectural requirements and includes landscaping along the road frontage of the proposed development. The proposal included an acceptable traffic impact study, and the development officer and municipal traffic authority have no concerns which have not otherwise been addressed in the report. Next policy, 8.6.4. This provides justification to require additional landscaping requirements on the road frontage of developments in the Wentworth Road Gateway District. So the draft development agreement requires landscaping and buffering, which meet the requirements set out in this policy. Neither the development officer or the traffic authority had any concerns regarding streetscape, pedestrian movement, or vehicle traffic. And policy 8.6.8 provides certain provisions to be included within the development agreement applications for proposals within the Wentworth Road Gateway District. To summarize, this proposal meets the criteria as the proposed development includes a natural buffer along the road frontage of the proposed development, as well as a provision to require landscaping within the parking areas. The proposal does not raise any pedestrian safety concerns, and the development officer and municipal traffic authority have no concerns which have not already been addressed in the report. Last one, policy 16.3.1 establishes the general criteria considered for all development agreement applications. In summary, the proposal meets this criteria as the proposal is not considered premature or inappropriate for the area. No municipal costs related to the proposal are anticipated, and the fire chief, development officer, manager of building and fire inspection services, public works engineering division, and municipal traffic authority have no concerns which have not otherwise been addressed. So that brings us to the easements and land conveyance portion, which is included within the development agreement itself. I think the easiest way to step through this would be just to show the map and discuss what each parcel, what the action being taken will be, as there's a recommendation to follow up on this specific issue. So the first one we'll look at here in the top left is labeled, hopefully my mouse works here, is labeled easement A with the brackets access. So this parcel is on the municipally owned property, and the easement there is being granted in favor of the developer to be able to place a driveway. So that's the first easement. And maybe what we'll do is easements first. So the first easement here is in favor of the developer to allow them to have an additional road connection to Cole Drive from the site. The next easement here, labeled easement B, storm drainage, is colored blue and is roughly an L shape. So this easement here is on land owned by the developer and is in favor of the municipality to allow for access to the storm drainage pond down at the bottom of the property. So that's for the municipal public works staff to be able to access that stormwater pond down at the bottom. And immediately afterwards is easement C, which is an alternative access to the storm water drainage that easement B is providing. So easement C may be the main access, I believe, and easement B will be for allowing pipes and potentially secondary access. So that covers all of the easements. Next, we have the parcel. So this is the conveyed land. And the first parcel, parcel A, is on the municipal property that fronts on Cole Drive. It's labeled in a red color here. And this is being conveyed to the developer to give an additional access to Cole Drive. So that's for site access for the site itself. The next parcel, which is labeled parcel B down at the bottom of this diagram, is roughly a purple color. And this is part of the developer's property, which is being conveyed to the municipality. And this is the additional stormwater management pond, which will be given to the municipality for stormwater management purposes. So that is a summary of what all the easements and land conveyance within our negotiations of our development agreement came to. So we'll move right on to the public information meeting. This slide and meeting was in fact the same slide and meeting that Will already described. So we will skip this one. And for the process, it's the same process up until second reading. So we're here at PAC looking for your review and recommendation tonight. It'll move on to council first reading, anticipated to be November 25th. And then the public hearing and second reading will be scheduled at a later date. This application, because it's a development agreement and not a planning strategy amendment, will have a notice placed in the paper with a 14-day appeal period to follow for this one. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. I do have some recommendations alongside Will. Thank you.
Are there any questions specific to Senior Planner Dunphy's part of the presentation? Councillor Larry Pinch.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So does their stormwater management plan solely consist of the pre-existing municipal ponds for stormwater management, or they are implementing additional measures?
So through you, Chair, I guess I'm not too privy on what the pre-existing ponds are. I've coordinated with Public Works insofar as they have told me that the stormwater management plan, which has been received from the developer, is acceptable to them, and it projects that it will meet the pre and post development flows. In terms of what's existing and what isn't, I don't know if I could answer that right now.
Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I had some questions from a pedestrian perspective. This plan, well, as we see it right now, well, the traffic study warranted just only 2 lanes for exit 8. I guess that's the one across from Superstore. I don't know why they just wouldn't mirror the Superstore exit, because with the developments up above Cole Drive, it's going to be even harder to get across there. What the current route is to get, say, to the Superstore for a pedestrian coming from the town of Windsor would be to go up I guess it'd be eastward up Wentworth Road, and we're not gonna go to the lights. We're gonna cut across the Ultramar parking lot, and we're gonna come out to a little thin strip of grass with a curb, and we have to walk along that with the fence beside us, with cars whizzing by. And then once we pass McDonald's, then we can cross over onto the other side in the proper sidewalk, and then walk up to Superstore or go over the hill and through the parking lot. So I don't see any provisions in this development for pedestrians to get from the corner of Wentworth and Cole Drive at the lights, past through the Ultramar entrance, which is very busy. People come in, go left and right through that all the time. And when you're even going through this Ultramar, you have to put your head on a swivel. But there's if there's going to be pedestrian access from, like as it says in the development agreement, from Cole Drive to the main entrance of the building, I'd like to see 2. One from exit 8 and one from the main entrance I guess that would be the main entrance, the first entrance to the development. And so I'd like to see that from pedestrians. I'd like to see some access there, because you're not going to, anybody going up the proper sidewalk still has to cross over if they want to go to Kent. And then at Kent, if you want to go across the Superstore, you're going to have to go through exit 8. So it'd be nice to have an adjacent walkway on exit 8, and then the first one, I guess that's intersection 7. So that's my one problem. And all the traffic study, the policies, they all say no concerns with pedestrian traffic. Well, as a pedestrian walking, particularly that route many times during the week and so forth, I have concerns about that. I'd like to see more pedestrian access to the site and to each exit, and crosswalk at McDonald's above, south of McDonald's, and a crosswalk at Superstore, and the exit mirroring Superstore. So that's like my pedestrian concerns. And then there's also a mention here about those ponds you're talking about. I guess in the development agreement we agreed, West Hanson's agreed to pay up to $282,000 to do those ponds. But is that not a cost generated by the development, or is that something that West Hanson's has to do?
Yep. So that was an agreement between the Public Works Department and the developer to provide stormwater management on the site. And I believe a portion of that, and I'm going out on a limb here as this really is in the House of Public Works, and they'd be able to clarify this. I believe that part of that reason is to improve the existing stormwater situation in the area, but I can confirm that with Public Works.
If it is a cost to the municipality, then it should be mentioned in the summary. It's because it's not no cost. There's a cost there. Who's paying for it? I'm not sure what the channels are, but it's cost to the municipality.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Is there a way to see an enlarged image of the exit across from the Superstore? Can't really understand how that works. And I had a question about that as well. Wasn't shouldn't be a four-way stop there to allow ease going left and right, because I know coming out of there wanting to go left, there's going to be an issue with traffic coming up the hill.
I think this is probably the closest image that we have available in the file to show that intersection. Essentially, the messaging that we've received from the Municipal Traffic Authority, which is part of the Public Works Department, is that the traffic study and the associated recommendations and conclusion were acceptable to them, and that they would follow through on what was required through that study.
Just to follow up on that, I think if there's a four-way stop at the corner of Garish and Gray, with the traffic going through there is going to be almost the same amount of traffic that's going up that road, that it's not acceptable to me.
Go ahead.
Well, the traffic study, I spent way too much time trying to pick holes in the traffic study because I thought it underrepresented pedestrians and underrepresented the exhibition grounds, because all the studies showed zero traffic coming and going from the exhibition grounds. And as research, I looked even in their traffic study, they have a full parking lot in the exhibition grounds. So I looked it up, and it's May 17th is the Google image, and just so happens that Cody Blaze was making an announcement that day at the exhibition. So that accounted for the 74 cars in the parking lot. But I tried picking holes in the study, and I didn't find any. But I thought it was a little lacking in the pedestrian, and I thought the recommendations were minimal safety standards. And it seems like that's what the development is based on, minimal safety standards as far as traffic movement and so forth, and pedestrian movement. And that's what the development did. But with the new development starting up there and in the anticipated traffic, I think they should maybe just go a little bit farther than the minimal. Like I said, I suggested crosswalks and walkways adjacent to the driveways.
Very good. Councillor Larry Pinch.
Thank you. So just to follow up on my previous question, and to follow up, my apologies, I just forgot your name. Dave. Thank you, Dave. On Dave highlighting the cost to the municipality for a stormwater management plan. So is the stormwater management plan from the municipality that's been submitted by the developer? Do you know?
Through you, Chair, it's not from the municipality. It would have been procured by the developer, given to the municipality and reviewed if it met our requirements.
But it's, yeah, I guess, because I'm going to ask the same question. So I think I would like that information if we can find it, because are we providing all of the resources? So we're basically providing the stormwater management, and they procured somebody to say, yes, those resources that you have and that you're going to provide are acceptable in a report, and then sent that report to us. And we said, great. So it's not, they're not paying the fees for stormwater management like other developments would be required to do.
Through you, Chair, maybe I'm misinterpreting your question. They will be conducting earthen work and actually building the stormwater management. So I'm not sure if that's.
Okay, so that seems different than what we've read, because the ponds are existing, right? That was my understanding, that the ponds are historically existing, the two on the top. Am I inaccurate? I know I'm looking at you because you're.
2 and 3 are existing. 4.
Yes, so there's one new one, but the other 2 are existing ponds that we have for stormwater management
25%.
on the municipality.
I'm going to let
Yeah.
her over to.
So the 2 ponds along Cole Drive are existing ponds, but they have limited capacity. So through this whole process, there's the addition of the additional ponds, and then creating more capacity within those existing ponds.
And are we as a municipality covering the cost or doing the work to create the additional pond and make them larger, or whatever re-engineering is occurring with them?
I'm not sure if I am confident enough to answer who's doing what, but I know it's a bit of a cost sharing and an agreement that has been negotiated between Public Works and the developer. We can bring back more specifics if needed.
Before, not that this committee also requires the information, but previous to it coming to council, it would be great if that information could be included, because I'll just have the same questions. Thank you.
Guido?
No, I was reiterating the concept that I think total clarity is needed before talking about any, all the details about the ponds and the cost, so that the public knows what's happening and what's not happening.
Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I guess I'll begin by saying not a simple file. There's a lot going on here, and working through it takes a lot of work just to be able to get through it and to be clear on it. And I don't mind saying that it's one of the more difficult ones that I've gone through, because there's so many moving parts by way of zoning change, future land use components to it, the partition of pieces of property. And then when we started, we came to understand that consolidation of some lots has taken place. And so the PIDs that we've been referencing and looking at here are not the same ones that we have here. And that's all fixable. I guess the question is when this file leaves here, will the ones in the documents that are going to council be changed? Like, how do we manage that going forward? And I think it's important relative to the package. The public has the same package that we have. And I don't want to bore in on this too hard, but am I wrong to be thinking that, like, when did the consolidation of those lots take place? Let me start with that.
Sure. Through you, Chair, it would have taken place sometime after we've put our reports in for the agenda package. As you know, our agenda package is created and sent out in advance of meetings, and
Sure.
Even in addition to that, we process and write our reports far before that,
Yeah.
to lead enough time to make any corrections. So it would have been amended after the writing of the report, and potentially after the package went out.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. And again, it wasn't meant to be a critical comment about where we're at. It's just to be able to track it going forward. And I think that that's important, that because I know I was looking online, lining up PIDs with what was existing online plus what we had in here. So I think I'll leave that to staff to figure out as to how we look at this going forward. I guess the challenge that I had with this was traffic all around this intersection. I'm going to call it the corners of along in front of the sports complex at Centennial Drive, where we show an entrance exit, which is designated as 6 on the, I believe it's the developer's map, number 6, which they say is primarily for trucks, I think is what the allocation was in the package. That another future entrance exit along the other part of it, of the road there. And so we've got traffic challenges there already. And so I have to rely on and trust what the traffic authority is saying, that this will all be acceptable. But I do know that's a challenged area already with the lanes going both ways and adding more intersections in on that. I'm going to call it the block. It may not be the right phrase, but that last block before you get to the Ultramar and so on. So that's my only comment that I have at present is on the traffic side. I do also appreciate the added comment on the topsoil with regards to the land being removed. And I know that having seen what's been happening there over the last, 8 months, a year, that there has certainly been earth that's been moving up in that area. And I'm not sure how that would, I know that we've heard before that landowners can do what they wish with their own land by way of moving earth and so on, but it just seemed a bit presumptuous if it was going to be had to be rezoned to become residential. I'm struggling with that.
Planner Hall.
Thank you. Chair to Councillor Ivey. So just on top of Alex's input on the recent consolidation of the parcel. So because we wrote this report pre-days before the developer actually consolidated the parcel. And also as soon as we found out that there's a discrepancy between the PID in our report and also the existing information showing online, we already try to update our mapping as soon as possible. So all the maps that I outlined in my presentation on the slide are actually updated, and they reflected the current new PID number. And as to your question for the first reading report, certainly staff will update our report accordingly, and so we can reflect the most updated information. Thank you.
Guido.
I am kind of piggybacking on what Jim Ivey just said. I've seen dozers moving land and stuff up there forever, and on this plot, regardless of residential, commercial. I'm having a feeling it's not a tangible observation, but it feels like the feeling is, I think like the public in this moment, as if I've not been part of this committee, that there has been a lot of agreement or implied agreement happening before all this material was presented, and a lot of things have already moved in the direction of it will be approved. It's all good. The feeling of it's all good, it's all good, it's all good. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't know if it's because the property is owned by a big corporation, Irving, but there is a lot of complexity, including the fact that are we considering traffic, which is already congested, as Councillor Ivey said, in this portion of the road, which should be 4 lanes, 2 and 2. And instead it's 2, and then it becomes 4 at the conjunction. But we know that when there is a little bit of work, today there was work right in front of my house, in our property, traffic gets congested and very quickly. And the safety of the pedestrians that was pointed up by David. or Dave, sorry, Dave. So I don't know how to put it, but I think that more clarity and a little more outline of the timelines would be useful to see. At the moment, the situation personally does not satisfy me to say, oh, it's all good. I cannot say it's all good. There is something that need a little more attention here. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Guido on this because I, in a sense, I mean, we all read the package, and I felt even then that there were a lot of things sort of being asked, and the conversation I think that we're having around this table, either way, council will see this and they'll have discussions. I think the thing that I would like to come out of this meeting, maybe from our group, possibly is the acknowledgement that they're going to have a lot of questions because of sort of the way that I think that in a sense it was presented as a number of different things that aren't necessarily contingent on each other, but are being lumped together for us to consider together. So I'm just a little perplexed by it all. And I have to come back to the potential cost to the municipality, and that's a surprise to me about the holding ponds and things like that. So I just feel like I missed information before before I came in, despite desperately trying to figure out this very complicated file. I think there's a number of nuances to it, you know, with all of these sort of land being traded back and forth, and you know, potential places for entrances and exits and things like that. And I also want to agree that it is very difficult in areas of our communities for pedestrians to make their way about. And this is already a very unfriendly situation for people as they make their way to the superstore, I know. So yeah, it's a tough one. And like I said, I know council are going to talk about this no matter what we decide tonight to do with it, but I suspect that they'll have a lot of questions. So maybe this conversation will help answer a few of those, I think. That's just my hope anyway. Thanks.
Thank you. And I guess I'll just say that we need to make sure that we review the application on its merits. There have been comments about who the applicant is and what we need to make sure that that's not germane to our discussion at all. It's the merits of this. And I do agree we are creating a bit of a pedestrian island that we can't get to. If you use the infrastructure that the municipality owns, you're forcing a mid-block crossing, which I've never seen a traffic study in all my years that ever supported an uncontrolled mid-block crossing for pedestrians. So I'd like to see that revisited and highlighted for perhaps council to have a fulsome discussion on that this is an incredibly unfriendly pedestrian scenario, and for that to trigger no concerns is a concern. I'll leave it at that. Sorry, Councilor Ivey, yes.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
I understood exactly what was happening. So the one thing I guess that I will add to this as loosely, but hopefully as clear. It's been a while since to the question of the comments about the stormwater ponds and how that's all come. It's been a while since we've had any real discussion on that as a public works initiative, so to speak. And so I can't speak clearly to it, but even to the extent as to what happens with the cost of that, I think Acting Director Fougier was that the existing ponds will remain in place. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And that what's being added into this initiative will serve to enhance and improve it, because this is an area where there's a fair bit of water that does come down through that property and that land. And so I'm relying on memory here because I didn't anticipate that becoming part of our conversation here this evening to go look up and see where we stood with it. But I think I'm generally in the ballpark with how that would look. I can't speak to the actual costing, but typically, it's been said, and that would be correct, that most typically the stormwater ponds are responsibility of developers, save in this case, I think we're seeing an improvement in what we'll see taking place there, period, which is solely ours right now. So I can't, that's again, I'm going by memory on what I think is happening with that. I like to believe, I know I read specifically the stormwater component of the development agreement, and I'm normally the one who's quite uncomfortable with what we have taking place. But I can tell you that when I went through that, when I noted it to say that it looks like it's pretty tight, at least in my mind, at that stage, if that helps. I don't know if anybody else recalls anything different, please. Either Kayla, do you, I don't know, but
I recall the conversation about the ponds and about us saying we were going to cost share. I just didn't recall the number of $282,000 and what portion of it was cost sharing, I guess is my curiosity. Like, are we putting in the new pond? Is it the land sharing part is I guess I just kind of wanted some clarity, because I do think when residents see that number, there's going to be questions, because it's a hefty number. Again, I know that there are commercial taxes and there are things, so like there are benefits and costs. I just would like to see how that kind of breaks down. But I do recall the conversation. I just didn't recall the dollars conversation. But maybe it occurred and I am not remembering.
Thank you. Guido?
I'm talking probably about something that is not strictly inherent to this planning and project here. I'm talking about the commercial axis and main axis that is going to become this big flagship of Wentworth Road. I hope that everything around the infrastructure that we need on Wentworth Road won't revolve around another rotunda, because they are placing rotundas everywhere and they think that that is the solution. There we go. It's like the blessing, the Pope exit blessing Rome and everything is good.
I'll just jump in there, Guido, just for clarity. Are you referring to roundabouts? You're calling them rotundas.
Oh, yeah.
Tomato thing, just to make sure.
My apologies.
I saw some
Okay.
perplexed faces.
I translate.
No, sorry to jump in.
I translate strictly from Latin. Joking. Italian. So I hope it's not the case of a roundabout, because on Wentworth Road, we need more than a roundabout. We need new land to enlarge this road and really make it the main axis of Windsor. And someone need to give the land away. It's not just about another roundabout. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Roundabouts, I know they proposed a roundabout as a solution, but that's a nightmare for pedestrians, because the ideal situation roundabouts is to keep traffic flowing. It's like perpetual motion. That's a nightmare for pedestrians. Like the one we have there on the other side of the highway, when I come down from the municipality and I use that roundabout, the one that goes up to the highway heading towards Kentville, you have to stand there and you have to make eye contact and you have to listen for either acceleration or deacceleration. And if you don't put your foot off that curb, they're not going to stop. They're going to keep on going. I mean, some do, of course, but you have to listen for that acceleration. So a perpetual motion of traffic and pedestrians doesn't seem like a good mix.
Anything further? No. So we would have recommendations on the totality of both Planner Hong and Senior Planner Dunphy's presentations. Well, we can see those on the screen here. Well, so would anyone care to make? That'll be the first. This is our first one. Would anybody care to make a motion for this recommendation?
We just ask the individual planners as their motions come up, just so we can all, I mean, every one of us can sit here and read it and figure out if we've got the right one. Let's just make sure we're voting on the right ones that we're voting on. Okay. Can I ask?
I can certainly read that if you wish.
So that we're clear whether we're dealing with the development agreements or just give us a summary on that.
Okay. Would you like to?
Yeah, certainly. So through chair to the committee. So the first recommendation is regarding the redesignation, I believe. So amending the generalized future land use map to include so that would be the first parcel that fronting the Wentworth Road Drive. So to include this parcel in the so to redesignate this parcel from a split designation of commercial and residential to entirely commercial, as shown on my. Can put on the map. I will bring up the map here. So this would be the proposed generalized future land use map, and my first recommendation is pertaining to this mapping specifically. So there will only be the change for the front parcel. There's no change to the second parcel behind it. So the front parcel again will be redesignated from a split zone of commercial and residential to entirely commercial. So I hope that helps in your voting decision.
I just want to say thank you for that. I think that's important given the detail of which we've had in front of us. Other people may be fine, but it certainly makes it more clear for me.
Certainly. So this recommendation is specifically dealing with what Planner Hong just discussed. So is there a motion to put this forward?
I'm prepared to put that motion forward.
Is there a seconder for that?
Yeah, I'll second it.
And we're going
for
to
sure.
second that. All right, we'll have a vote for that.
Do we want to read the motion?
Would you like to read? Okay, the motion would be that PACAC recommends that council give first reading and hold a public hearing to consider amending the generalized future land use map of the Windsor Municipal Planning Strategy to include PID 454-39098 in the commercial designation as shown in the report 2511/12 to the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee dated November 13th of 2025. Show of hands in favor of that. Any opposed? One opposed, so motion is carried. And the next recommendation?
So before voting, I will just give a introduction to the second recommendation as well. So the second recommendation is regarding the amendment to the zoning map of the Windsor Land Use Bylaw to rezone the. Again, that would be the first parcel from a split zone of Wentworth Road commercial and agriculture to entirely Wentworth Road commercial. And also, there's also a rezoning request to the second parcel at the back from agriculture to medium density residential R2, which is to the intention was to accommodate their future residential development at the second parcel, and therefore there's also a request to exclude or remove the second parcel from the Wentworth Road Gateway District overlay. So that is the overall background of the my second recommendation. So I'd happy to take any question if there's any question or clarification.
Any clarification required or requested on that recommendation? Okay, I'll read that. That PACAC recommends that council give first reading and hold a public hearing to consider amending the zoning map of the Windsor Land Use Bylaw to rezone PID 454-39098 from a split zone of Wentworth Road Commercial WR-C and Agriculture AG to Wentworth Road Commercial WR-C entirely, and rezoning PID 451-90386 from Agriculture AG to Medium Density Residential R2, and amending the Schedule B of the Windsor Land Use Bylaw to adjust the Wentworth Road Gateway district boundary as shown in the report 2511/12 to the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee dated November 13th, 2025. Somebody willing to move that forward?
I'm willing to move it. I'd like to see we have discussion after the move. It's moved and seconded.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Discussion.
Discussion before a vote?
So thank you. So I just want to point out, I guess, to the comments that I made earlier, and I think it's important to note that given the complexity of what goes on with this file, that it is in the interest of seeing that this file does move through to council. And that's the reason that I'm kind of taking the stance that I am here today. And so I would just say it in that context as guiding comments without, again, not being critical in any fashion, that what lands with us in a couple of weeks' time, I'm guessing it's 2 weeks that we're going to see this at the next council meeting, that just this needs to be really clear, like blocks on a table, that the screen is tough. There's a lot of detail in those images, despite going through it in these packages with all that's going, just to be really clear what it is that we've got going on with this. I think there's some questions that have been raised here, but I do believe it's worth getting it through to in the interest of what is being proposed here, which I think a lot of people are supportive of. It's just the detail. Thank you.
Thank you for that. There being no, Guido, you have something to add?
I'm not part of council. I'm simply a citizen sitting at this table. I deem important that even for future references, when a project comes to this table, to the PACAC or PAC, whatever we call it, as already has the level of clarity that we need to evaluate what we are seeing here. So tonight I will oppose the recommendation again, because I'm not council. I don't have power of council. I don't know what happened in council, but I know what's happening here tonight. This plan is clear as mud to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion or comments before we have a vote on the motion as presented here? No? Okay. Could we have a show of hands, all in favor of moving forward with it? That's 4 in favor. All opposed? 2 opposed. So motion would be carried. Well, I suspect now we'll move on to Senior Planner Dunphy's portion of the recommendations. If you could do similar to Planner Hong and give us a little synopsis of that before we have a...
Sure. So this is the first recommendation here. This is essentially the recommendation which will move forward the development agreement. The next recommendation is essentially just part and parcel recommendation, which is required to discuss signing. So the next recommendation really is sort of a secondary part of the first one. So the last recommendation, so 3 out of 3, will be a recommendation to move forward on the easements and land conveyance. So that would be what I discussed with the map earlier, indicating all of the easement parcels and all the conveyance of land between the municipality and between the developer. So hopefully that clarifies what these recommendations are for. And if more is needed, feel free to ask.
Absolutely. Are there any questions or discussion about this particular item? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you. Just one question, if I could. It was towards the end of, through you, Chair, to Planner Dunphy. It was towards the end of your comments, Alex, when you were commenting about the process before we go to the 14-day appeal period. There was nothing unique or special in that you were saying. I didn't catch all the, but can you just put clarity on that so we know where we're at with this?
Yes, absolutely. So through you, Chair, what Councillor Ivey was referring to was my process slide here. Yeah. What I indicated here is that there is a slight difference between the applications that we have through Will and the application that we have through myself. So on the municipal planning strategy amendment side of things, how that is actually processed after approval from council is that it goes for ministerial approval. So there's no appeal period. It's sent directly to the province, and the province either approves with amendments or denies that amendment directly, and then sends it back to us. We get that information and we put up a notice of approval, and that notice of approval upon that ad coming out is deemed effective. So that's when we would do all the rezoning and everything. For the development agreement application, this goes through an appeal process. So if it's approved by council, It then has a notice which is placed in the paper indicating a 14-day appeal period. And if that lapses and there is no appeals, then it would be approved at that point. So essentially, we would go to sign the development agreement after the appeal period. So that's the only difference between the two files.
Thank you. And if I could just try and see if I caught that right. So it's like there's a fork in the road with the first one on the MPS, it just goes directly to the minister for approval. The other, which is development agreement, goes, and they both go through standard process of public hearing, but on approval, it's a fork in the road, one to the minister, the other's going out for an appeal period, and then that clears it. Am I correct in retranslating back to you what you said to me?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Perfect. So we have the first recommendation, which I'll read before we have a vote on it. That, oh, excuse me, Guido, I didn't see it. Go ahead.
No worries, all good, Chair. Thank you. Just for clarity for the public, can we have the exact number of acres this entire operation would imply, including the part that they want us to remove from the Wentworth axis? Because in the end, it will be the total.
I'll see if I can find that number in my report. Just a moment, please. My PDF document appears to blank out the site plan when I try to zoom in on it. Will, do you happen to have any of that information? Just to clarify through you, Chair, is it the total acreage for the development agreement area, or is it the total acreage for the parcels which are being considered for rezoning and redesignation?
The total development and the total of the parcels, because I think we are talking about 3 parcels here, 2 becoming complete commercial and the AG agricultural becoming residential, regardless of the fact that they are asking the residential to be disconnected from the Wentworth axis. In the ending, how many acres in total are we talking about? And I'm asking because often we debate over a small acreage of 2 or 3 acres and see details, see beautiful pictures, see every foot of it. And here I'm looking at a wider development, not huge, but I cannot in my head put together how many acres are we talking about?
Through you, Chair, to the committee question. So in terms of the size of the properties, so for my application, they are regarding 2 parcels. The first parcel is in alignment with Alex DA application. So that would be the entire commercial development. And that parcel is approximately 23.7 acres in size. And in terms of the property that we are going to exclude from the Wentworth Road Gateway District, which will, from my understanding, the developer intention to build for future housing on the property, and that parcel is approximately 15.6 acre in size. So
awesome. Thank you. That was my question.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
There's 3 recommendations. Is it possible to see the 3 recommendations before we vote on? Just
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I expect we'll vote on these recommendations one at a time, but we certainly want to review it before. Absolutely. Would you prefer to see all three before we? Okay, we could go through the three and then go back and vote one at a time if you were.
So I can just maybe narrate over this while we review it. This second recommendation is a standard template for signing that we include with any of our DAs. You'll see the requirement for it to be signed within 120 days from the date of final approval from council. And the reason why this recommendation has been included as a standard template is that we have had previous issues where a DA will be approved and then not signed, and there's no function without this recommendation to eject that DA or remove that DA.
So if everybody's had a chance to look at that, are there any questions generated by that? Councillor Ivey?
No more questions, but I do appreciate the additional information that we got and the questions that we've had during the discussion initially and now. And I think it's been helpful. I think, just to hear it more clearly, given again the details. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. I guess we go back and deal with the first recommendation. Okay, the recommendation is that PACAC recommends that council give first reading and hold a public hearing to consider entering into a development agreement to allow a large format retail store and several smaller retail stores on Cole Drive, PIDs 454-39098, 451-90386, and 450-55282 in Windsor by development agreement, which is substantively the same as the draft set out in attachment B of the report file 2507 to the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee dated November 13th, 2025. Would anyone like to move that forward?
I will.
Tim, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Ivey? Okay, we have a show of hands. All those in favor of moving that forward? All those opposed? Okay, 2 opposed, so motion is carried. The second recommendation is that PACAC recommends that council require the development agreement with JD Irving Limited, which permits a large format retail store and several smaller retail stores on Cole Drive, PIDs 454-39098, 451-90386, and 450-55282 in Windsor be signed within 120 days from the date of final approval by council or the date that any appeals have been disposed of. Otherwise, this approval will be void and obligations arising hereunder shall be at an end. Would anyone like to move that forward? So moved. Is there a seconder? Tim? Okay, we have a show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Majority, it moves forward. Recommendation number 3 is that PACAC recommends that council approves the necessary land transfer of a portion of PID 450-55282 to the owner and a portion of PID 454-39098 to the municipality, as well as an easement across a portion of PID 450-55282 in favor of the municipality, and 2 easements across PID 454-39098 in favor of the municipality as part of this development agreement. Would anyone like to move that forward? Councillor Ivey is a seconder.
I'll second it.
Tim, could we have a show of hands? All those in favor? Opposed? We have 4 and 3. So we have 3 opposed, 4 in favor, so motion is carried.
If I could add, Chair,
Absolutely.
just to the end of that, I just want to clarify that so regardless of if any application is approved or not approved, or sorry, I should not recommend having trouble with my words today. Not recommended or recommended by the Planning Advisory Committee. Planning staff will bring forward all the concerns that were heard here tonight and bring forward any additional information that's necessary for council and provide that information, hopefully to address all the concerns that were raised tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that does add some weight that the discussions we have here do have value, and they are considered. So it's important that we feel that we should have these discussions here. Thank you for that. So the next order of business is file 2521, rezoning of PID 450385110, Highway 14 in Windsor Forks. And Senior Planner Dunphy has a presentation on that.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm going to hop right into this. Oh, sorry. Maybe started a little too fast with that one. Okay, let's try that again. We'll start off with this rezoning file. So staff received a completed application from Stanley Boyd on August 14th, 2025. This application was to rezone the subject lot from the rural commercial RC zone to general resource GR to allow for subdivision and residential development on the subject lot. Here you can see an orthophoto of the subject property. The front of the property is cleared while the remainder is forested. It's a little difficult to see from the yellow highlighting of the subject property, but nearby properties consist primarily of single unit residences, as well as some agricultural uses which are located across the street. This property also has frontage on both Highway 14 and Ski Martok Road. The generalized future land use map for this area is very simple. If you're on one side of Highway 14, in this case the north side, you are completely within the agricultural designation. And if you're on the south side of Highway 14, such as this subject lot, you are within the resource designation. Similar to the last map, our current zoning is predominantly on the north side of Highway 14, agricultural priority 2. And on the south side of Highway 14 is primarily general resource. The only one that sticks out here, well, I guess there's two, one at the top, and our subject property, which are both zoned rural commercial. Permitted uses within this zone include a variety of commercial uses, tend to be smaller in nature and limited to a certain square floor area, some tourist accommodations, as well as one unit dwellings in conjunction with a permitted commercial use. So here is the proposed zoning for the property. It's just to apply the general resource zone, similar to all the surrounding properties within the resource designation. The permitted uses within this zone include some agricultural uses, resource uses, limited commercial uses, as well as low density residential, which is what the intention of the rezoning is for. I will make a note that we received a slight change of intention from the applicant. So they are considering maintaining a small portion of the property fronting on Ski Martok Road as rural commercial. And this would be achieved through subdivision. So they would subdivide a small portion off, remaining as rural commercial. And the exact portion of that would be determined through subdivision. So right now, I just have a rough representation of what that may look like. Here's a view of the subject lot from the corner of Highway 14 and Ski Martrock Road. You can tell that wasn't taken today. And a view of the surrounding area. So the top image here shows Highway 14 with the subject property on the left-hand side, and you can see some of the agricultural uses on the right-hand side of that top image. On the bottom image, we're looking down Ski Martrock Road, so we're looking towards Highway 14. So where that stop sign is the continuation of Highway 14, and this shows some of the residential uses in the area. So we'll move right into the policies here. The first one, policy 16.1.3, provides council with the ability to consider rezoning properties consider rezoning properties to a zone which is permitted within the designation of an adjacent property. The proposal meets the criteria since the requested zone, general resource, is permitted within the resource designation, which multiple nearby properties are designated, as well as the subject lot itself is designated resource. For our general criteria policy, we consider here that the criteria are met since the proposal is not considered premature or inappropriate for the area. No municipal costs related to the proposal are anticipated, and the development officer, manager of building and fire inspection services, area manager of the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, and Public Works Engineering Division have no concerns which have not otherwise been addressed in this report. There was one name that was left out of this criteria, and that is addressed here. So criteria AIII of policy 16.3.1 states whether the proposal is considered premature or inappropriate in terms of the adequacy of fire protection and other emergency services. So just summarizing here, staff did not receive a reply from the fire chief. However, the manager of building and fire inspection services confirmed that they had no concerns regarding the proposed rezoning. Based on previous responses that we have received from the fire chief for similar proposals in rural areas for a similar amount of residential units, staff are not anticipating any concerns regarding fire protection or emergency services. However, staff are required to proceed with the application to meet provincial timelines, but we still hope to receive a response prior to first reading or bringing this forward to council. For the public information meeting that was held on September 3rd, the meeting was broadcast live on the municipal YouTube account. No members of the public were in attendance for the meeting, and the deadline for comments was September 17th. Staff also received no correspondence from the public during that comment period. For our process here, we have the report in front of the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee tonight for review and recommendation. Following this, it'll move on to council first reading. That's proposed to be November 25th. And then on to the public hearing and second reading, which we're estimating will take place in January. If approved there, a notice of approval would be placed in the paper with a 14-day appeal period to follow. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions for Senior Planner? Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Can we ask like a fire chief if we do not receive a response prior to first reading from like an adjoining fire department? Is that an option?
Through you, Chair, that is an option that we can have consultation from another fire chief. I'll add that as a potential solution. We were also discussing potentially a mass email to the fire chiefs to maybe discuss some new terms about how responses are processed. But that's a good suggestion, and I think maybe planning staff will look into that. Thank you.
Guido.
Thank you, Chair. Just a clarification about general commercial. What's the meaning of it? No, excuse me, rural commercial, that they are wanting to leave a small portion on top of the property toward Skimmer Talk as rural commercial. What rural commercial exactly mean? Having a little tent where you can sell strawberries? What is that?
Yes. So through you, Chair, to answer the question here, the rural commercial zone is essentially intended to allow very small scale commercial uses in the rural areas of the municipality. So there is a number of things that could be permitted on this zone. So currently, right now, the entire property is zoned rural commercial. The owner is looking to change it sort of back, or at least a vast majority of it back to general resource. But just to go through some of the uses, sort of a variety of commercial uses. And as I had indicated, it requires or it has a maximum commercial floor area. So it can't just be a commercial use of any size. It is restricted to a certain floor area. It could also include tourist accommodations, so cabins or something similar to that style. And it also permits a dwelling unit in conjunction with a commercial use. So those are the types of things that may be permitted on the property. And of course, any permit will have to meet all the requirements of the land use bylaw regardless.
Councilor Revenge.
Through your chair, out of curiosity, you could put like a tourist accommodation in the new zoning and use it as Airbnb, could you not? Like to get, it wouldn't have to be rural commercial?
So through you, Chair, or I guess I'll say short-term rental, which is the sort of broad umbrella term. We don't have a specific definition for short-term rentals, and any dwelling unit that could be used as a short-term rental is just considered a dwelling unit. So we don't have requirements around short-term rental. So to answer your question fully, yes, regardless of, as long as the zoning permits a residential use, then it could have a short-term rental within it.
Councilor Ivey.
Thank you. So is the opposite also true that, so this specifies tourist accommodations in rural commercial. Could they do what they want to do without even doing the rezone? In other words, put in, it's a dwelling unit, whether it's tourist or not. Is it necessary to do the rezone? And then I have a follow-up on that I'll ask after, but.
Sure. Through you, Chair. So the intention of this application is to move it to the general resource zone, as the applicant is looking to divide the property and create residential lots for personal use or for I guess I don't know if I should divulge the reason for these applications, but I will say they had not indicated as of the application that the residential lots would be utilized for short-term rental. That was not the intention. So what their intention was to utilize it for residential lots. So in this way, the general resource zoning is required for a standalone residential unit.
Required to be able to do that.
Right. The rural commercial zone only allows a standalone residential unit in conjunction with a commercial use.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question, and it's because of the previous comment is what prompted that first question. But the other question that I have is, I should be able to quote and say this, but just because a property is has a GFLUM for, in this case, for what was the resource designation, doesn't automatically mean that you can just go into a we still have to go through this whole process that we're doing to rezone it, public hearing and everything that goes with that, and to make sure everything. Thank you.
Councillor Pinch.
Thank you. Is there a reason that it would be that we wouldn't want to keep a portion of it rural commercial, seen as part of the reasoning for saying, yeah, this is great to rezone, is because the rest of it is a resource designation already. So would we not want it all to be a resource designation, or because it's already zoned that way, it doesn't really make a difference whether it's changed or not in the grand scheme of things? I'm just curious from a planning perspective, are there any downfalls to not changing the whole property?
No, fair question, through you, Chair. So I'd say from a planning perspective, our issue is split zoning. That's where things, as long as property zoning matches the property lines, we are generally happy. But when that's not the case, that's when we find issues. So the reason why this property here has this uncertainty is that we don't have this subdivision which shows the property line. And so planning staff want to ensure that if a portion remains, that it matches the property line and that it is exactly the zoning of that one property that remains. So in terms of keeping a portion its current zoning, I think planning staff are of the opinion that as long as it does not create a split zoned property, then we don't have an issue rezoning up the remainder, provided that ultimately the subdivision will create separate lots.
Tim?
I'll make the motion if you'd like.
Very good.
Okay. Recommend that PACHAC recommends that council give first reading and hold a public hearing to consider amending Schedule A of the West Hants Land Use Bylaw to rezone PID 450385110 on Highway 14 in Windsor Forks from the rural commercial RC zone to the general resource GR zone as shown in the report number 25-21 to the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee dated November 13, 2025.
The seconder for that? Councillor Larry Pinch? Sure. Okay. I have a show of hands. All those in favor? Any opposed? No opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Moving right along. Business arising from the minutes. I don't know that we have any. And business arising from public information meetings. I don't believe there's any. The file updates, rather than I think go through each one, I think typically our process is on, are there any questions on any of those file updates listed there? We can deal with them specifically rather than going revisiting each one. If there's no questions on any of those, we have the building and development activity reports. Nothing to discuss about that. Notices from adjacent municipal units, there being none. And public comments, there being no public, there's no comments. So our next meeting date is December 11th, 2025, getting awfully close to the Christmas season. And so then we, before we adjourn, I just want to thank everybody for indulging me and putting up with my blundering through this. I promise I'll get better. So would I move for adjournment? Meeting adjourned then. Thank you.